Welcome! We're the history hikers. My name is Dries.
And I'm Jente.
Today we're visiting Minerve, which you can see in the background.
It is located in the Languedoc region in France.
Beautiful medieval city by the looks of it.
Well, but not only medieval, it started in the prehistoric times, it was already inhabited, and during the Roman period it was an encampment for the 10th Legion, which was stationed nearby Narbonne.
Yeah, afterwards the Visigoths came and settled here, but the first time Minerve was mentioned was in 873, I believe.
Yes.
Let's have a look.
Limestone cliffs surround the town of Minerve, and down in the gorges flow the rivers Cesse and Briand. These steep cliffs gave Minerve a naturally strong defensive position. You could only access the town via a small strip of land, and the castle was further defended by a moat and gates with drawbridges.
Behind us we have the last remains of the castle of Minerve, named the Candela. It's a octagonal tower, part of the castle. You can see 3 levels.
3 levels, yes.
Most of it was dismantled in the 17th century.
Well, it was built first of all in the 13th century.
This is the northern part of town, which was defended by this part of the castle and also a drawbridge, which is this side. I will overlay some more shots of the castle so you can see it better. Here you can see some more footage from the castle. You can see the 3 levels we talked about if you look closely, and the beautiful surroundings. And over here I tried to turn the camera to have a better view, but yeah, it wasn't really smart, as you can see.
As we stroll along Minerve's ancient cobbled lanes will tell you a part of the tale of this beautiful village. As the capital of the Minervois region, it played an important role in regional politics. Around the year 1000, Minerve got the status of a viscounty, with Hérault as its first viscount. In 1167, the French king gave Minerve in fief to Roger II Trencavel, the Viscount of Carcassonne and Béziers, and Roger will eventually transfer his fief to the King of Aragon in 1179. But Minerve's history is not only rich in political and military story, the castle was a real hub for troubadours as well. One of these troubadours was Ramon de Miraval, and he is one of the more famous troubadours. Well, mostly because his works have survived throughout the ages. And we know that courtly love was one of his favorite subjects, and he sure seems a hopeless romantic.
During the Albigensian Crusade, which began in 1209, Guillaume de Minerve was the lord of Minerve Castle. He was a vassal of Raymond Roger Trencavel, who was Viscount of Béziers and Carcassonne, among other places. When Béziers fell to the Crusaders, Minerve became the main place of refuge for Cathars in the Minervois. So you can say that Cathars began flooding into the town and making it a bigger target for the Crusader army.
Here you can see us walk down towards the river, where the townsfolk used to get their water. There used to be a well next to the river Briand down in the gorge, and in the Middle Ages it used to be a protected passage, so that the vital water supply was never in jeopardy.
Probably the most famous event happening here is the siege during the Albigensian Crusade in 1210. Behind us we have a catapult, which was it's a reconstruction of the catapult that was used during that siege by the attackers.
The attackers being the army of Simon de Montfort.
The catapult's name is La Malvoisine, and it was infamous because it destroyed parts of the town, I reckon, but also the causeway to the well which the town used for water. Without water they couldn't supply.
Without a well they couldn't supply for water.
Without a well they couldn't supply that water, and they had to surrender after 7 weeks of siege, after which the infamous, even more infamous I believe, heretic
Well, the Cathars.
Yeah.
The first mass fire that killed the Cathars, and they rounded up actually they called themselves the Good Christians. They rounded them up in 2 houses and they tried to make them convert to Christianity, the Catholic Christianity then. But they refused, so they made one big fire, and apparently they walked into the fire voluntarily. Also, Dries forgot to mention, but the translation of the name Malvoisine is bad neighbor.
Bad neighbor. Yeah, so with the they tried to convert the Cathars first, but only 3 of them wanted to denounce or renounce their religion. So over 140 went willingly to their deaths in the fire, which was the first during the crusade over here. Let's check out the rest.
In 1210, Simon de Montfort, the leader of the crusading army, laid siege to Minerve. The siege would take 7 weeks, after which Minerve had to surrender because of lack of water. The big catapult, La Malvoisine, destroyed the access to the well used by the defenders, as we just mentioned earlier. The villagers tried to sally out and destroy the catapult, but the crusaders were able to repel the attack and continued hammering the town. As we make our way back, we have a nice view of the side of Minerve that got beaten to a pulp by La Malvoisine and of the surrounding landscape.
from 1210 on, Minerve had a new lord in Simon de Montfort. His son donated it to the French crown because he wasn't able to hold on to his lands. We're not going to go into the whole history of the Albigensian Crusade here, but you'll definitely hear more about it in next videos, and we might even make an entire video explaining it all. Well, in 1224, Minerve was occupied by the French king and a royal garrison was stationed there. With the Treaty of Corbeil in 1258, the new border between France and Aragon was agreed upon and Minerve officially became part of the French crown lands.
Here we come up to a bridge, which is a modern bridge. It was built in the early 20th century when a railway station was built nearby and they figured they would need a better way of accessing Minerve. So they built this imposing bridge, but it's not medieval at all, sadly. Now, to know how the castle of Minerve ended up as only the little octagonal tower, we have to fast forward to the 17th century. Brigands were using the castle as an outpost and were causing havoc in the area. The villagers petitioned the French king, who then gave the order to dismantle the castle so that these outlaws were no longer able to use it as refuge. The only part that's left of it is the Candela, the tower that we saw in the beginning. It dates from the 13th century. This reason of dismantling a castle isn't uncommon, as we'll see in future videos. We are now making our way to the church of Minerve. Over here you can see it on the right side. It's a Romanesque church. We sadly weren't able to enter it though, so can only give you some shots from the outside. This is a monument that Minerve built to remember those 140 Cathars that were killed, and you see the same monument in a lot of towns here in this region. And with that we've reached the end of our video. It's now time for the subjective arbitrary castle score, and we're gonna include both the Candela, the little tower, and the walls of the village town itself. And I'm gonna go for a 6. It's yeah, the Candela is not a lot, but the walls were pretty impressive, and it's cool. You could walk down towards the river and towards the catapult. What do you think?
A 6. I think I'll go a bit higher. Maybe like 6.5, maybe even 7, because, well, for effort, the effort they put into recreating the Malvoisin and like the little bridge, yeah, I think they did a very good job here. Yeah, I think I'll go with a 6.5, maybe even a 7, like maybe like 6.75. 6.75, I think that's fair. So I guess that's it for Minerve. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that good YouTube stuff if you have enjoyed this video.
Bye!